in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
All right, we are back. We are back. I apologize. See, we roll out a new feature with video and we freeze up. Hopefully, you can find us again on YouTube. Give everybody a few minutes to file in. Same thing on X. I will retweet the link right now. Sorry about the freeze. I'm going to let everybody roll back in. Thanks for the help. I saw that the screen was frozen and I'm like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I'm telling you, and my guy Haunted Horse, who constantly is a big help to us on this platform, getting things worked out. He has been having problems with the same program that we use. So hopefully we can get back up and running. We had a ton of people in here. We had over 100 between the two platforms that had checked in, but we will keep rolling as the show goes along. Thanks for being back. We are back online. Whoop, dare it is. Yeah, you know what happened? I was so excited to roll out the new video today, right? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make the audience not have to look at a screen while we're listening to sound bites. I want you to see the players. I got everything set up pretty. I was ready to go, and our system said, come on, man. This damn system sometimes. I mean, yeah,
And then Ryan just busted you up.
I just busted up the system. Holy crap. All right, we're recovering a little bit. Numbers not as strong, but all good. We'll get back to it. The analytics, as I was saying before we had the freeze, the analytics for this team say that they are a better team. Yes, it is a complete crap. Yes, this system is a complete crap. The person that sold us this system,
I will never believe you again.
I'll never believe him again. What's up with that, man? We get this broadcasting system. I'll tell you, you know what? This is going to make me go on a rant. You do everything right. I am damn close to going on a Mike Gundy rant. All we do is we prepare our shows, we get everything set up, we make sure the connections are straight, and you want to kick us off for no reason. Come on, man. Mike Gundy, all that kid did was go to class, read his books. Anyways, all right, enough Mike Gundy. I'm just letting people file back in. Remember, you can call the show if you would like. You can use the link that I am going to put back in the chat right here. Also, you can now call traditionally. That will not crash the show. We have the OWL hotline ready to go. Here's the phone number for you, 916-822-9485. You can call and text the show like you would a friend. If you're at work, you don't want to have to go through the restream thing. You don't want to have to come on screen. Call the show. We can bring you right up. So would love to hear from you today. Again, Kings Pelicans, we're getting ready for that one. Before we were so rudely frozen out of the software, I was talking about the Kings getting back to basics. DeMar DeRozan talking about that over these last 3 days. Also, talking about the analytics of this team. Depending on where you look right now, the Kings are somewhere between 6th and 7th offensively. Defensively, their numbers continue to stay pat where they have been, which, again, terrible at giving up the 3 ball, but defensive rating is 13th in the NBA. You blend those two together, you are somewhere in the top third of the NBA. Yet the Kings are a game under 500 and out of the playoffs, or the play in, I should say, right now. It doesn't make sense. Their net rating, right? 3.2 in the positive. Everybody else below them in the negative. So we're going to get back to the conversation in a minute. To the phones we go. Dennis, what's up, buddy?
Yo, Rhino, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
I was liking how you were bringing up the officiating and how it's impacting the game so much, even at the end of games, and how we can try to limit their effect on the game. And honestly, the only thing I can think of is just like finding them. You know what I mean? It's like they're just running around right now unchecked, and that's the problem.
Well, what's your Dennis? What's your definition of unchecked?
Because they make mistakes, and then it just goes on a piece of paper and says they made a mistake at this time. They made a mistake at this time, and that's it.
Yeah, they're graded out after every single game, and you probably know how this works. You're a diehard, and their grades dictate who gets to officiate in the postseason. Now, the one thing that I would say that has been brought up a few times over the past year and a half is, why aren't the officials made available to the media after the game? Now, if there's a bad call or something controversial, the crew chief will do basically he'll take one reporter, and it will be a pool report. And that reporter will ask them a question or two. But what's the downside to maybe making an official available to the media afterwards?
But it goes in hand. Like, everybody else gets fined in the NBA except officials. That's where we go back to, right? I mean,
they don't make the same money, though.
Well, I mean, so that's another reason probably why they don't want them talking to the media, because if they said something that they weren't supposed to say, or, you know what I mean, then what? You're going to find the refs finally, or no? You're just going to say, well, he made an error in that statement, and he should not have said that. So it's just, more attention on everybody else, and then like a player, coach, or example, and then it's them in the spotlight, and it's them. Well, how come you didn't win the game? And then it's the officials, like you said, right? So now they get fined for that. And so if you go to the official and say, well, how come you called this? Well, it was the player. Are they going to get fined? No, of course. See, so back to my point, it's just the unchecked reality that we're living in, and like, it has to change, because otherwise it's just going to keep happening. Fans are going to keep being upset with officials, to the point now where I'm seeing on X that they're threatening family members. I'm like, come on.
Oh, dude, it's been going on for a minute. It's happened forever to a degree, but social media has changed the game. And then you parlay that, and I'm using parlay with a take on gambling now, with people that are gambling on the smallest things, prop bets for everything. Like, look at when a college kicker misses a kick. And I know they're not an official, but like, it's crazy. You get death threats. There was a wrestler's daughter that started getting death threats because the WWE decided to go a different way with their storylines. Like, it's insane. I hear what you're saying, man.
I just wanted to add that. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you. Dennis, keeping it real. Look, I don't know what the answer is for the officials, and we can talk about this really quick. I want to get everybody's input as well. We're starting to get our numbers back up. Appreciate everybody coming back. Sorry we got froze out from the programming tried to roll out a new feature for all of you, video sound bites, and it did not work too well. So we'll stick to the audio for today and continue trying to get the kinks fixed. But last night, it's like, I don't know if it was a good call or a bad call. It wasn't obvious either way. And then to what Dennis said and what some of you are saying, what about how the game's being officiated? Why does the officiating change? I think the biggest problem that I have had this season with the officiating, this is the biggest problem I have. And it does not take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It's that if you are going to let teams play physical, and if you look back from the All-Star break up until now, the All-Star break last year up until now, the refs have really let teams play a little bit more physical. The Kings thrived on that the second half of last season. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that edict came down, because you know what happened at the All-Star break? Do you remember the All-Star game last year? It was supposed to be the biggest, greatest thing ever. Adam Silver, the All-Star game's going to be back. He let the players know you got to take it serious. They even went with an LED floor in a football stadium. That's where the All-Star game was holding. What happened when the game started? The players couldn't care less. It was everything Adam Silver didn't want and more. Adam Silver got served a big crap sando from the players because of the style of the play, because they shot so many threes, because they didn't take it serious, to the point that Adam Silver, when he was doing the trophy presentation, was visibly and audibly upset. Oh, well, I guess you just scored the most points, so here you go. Okay, so you take that style of play. How do you fix that? You let guys go out there and be more physical. You let them play more. You're going to piss them off. And so I think those two things have gone hand to hand. Now, to fast forward to where we are now, I said it doesn't take a rocket genius to know that when teams are getting physical, tempers are going to rise. The temperature on the floor is going to go up. The probability of an incident between players rises exponentially, right? And when that incident happens, let's go back to the Kings and the Rockets game. The dust up with Fox, Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green. What happened after that? The ref said, oh, hell no. We got to get this game back. We got to get this back. And that wasn't the first game that we have seen that. We've seen it 3 or 4 times this season where the Kings, and granted, Malik Monk talks about it here in a few minutes, they have been fouling too much. They have. Malik is right. We have seen that. But they have also been the beneficiaries of bad quarters from the officials. Most bad quarters coming in the second half, either being the third or the fourth quarter, which is after halftime, which is after the refs huddle back up, get their break, drink their Gatorade, whatever it is. Okay? You can't let the game go and then try to bring it back. If you let the game go to a certain spot, you've got to keep the game at that certain spot. And that's the problem that the officials are having. They're missing that perfect little zone where you can't come down and hack somebody to where it's going to start a fight, but you know that that's not going to get you a foul. So they lose control and try to get control of the games. Now, the solution, I have no idea. Because here's the thing. Who the hell wants to be a referee? Does anybody in this show know somebody that's like, oh, dude, yeah, when I grow up, I want to be a referee. Yeah, it's great. I get to travel for 160 days a year. I get to be mother effed for 2.5 hours every single night by not only my coworkers, which are the players, but by belligerent, drunk people in the stands. And that's at best. That's if I make it to the NBA. What are you going to be doing before you get to the NBA? You know what you're going to be doing? You're going to be doing high school games. You're going to be doing AAU games. You're going to be doing college games. And as you go down the scale, the amount of shit that you get from the parents, from the people in the stands is so much worse. There's a referee shortage. They can't get them. So they're protecting them to a degree. So it's all the time. I've said this many times. John Finch will tell you this if he is in here. Every time I go to Stockton, I am talking to the officials about something. I'm talking about points of emphasis. I'm asking them about plays that may have happened in the NBA or a play that happened with the Kings to get their take on it if they saw it. I'm asking about their stories. How did you get here? Is there a lot of people that still want to do this? And more times than not, they don't. There's not a lot of people that want to do it. So I don't know what the answer is. I think as much as we want to say it's bad, you have to acknowledge too, more times than not, these guys get the calls right. These guys and gals, they do. It's the bad calls that get the attention, or the lack of calls, or the change in the calls that gets the attention. They've got to make split-second decisions. And here's the other problem that I don't think the NBA has wrinkled out. They tried to this year with the rule change. They tried to, but I still think it's there. There was this old school mindset. Anybody that's been a hooper, that's played in high school or higher, college, if you played hoops, you're going to be able to relate to this. There were so many times up until instant replay was instituted that there were these unwritten rules of officiating in basketball and within the game where you might have got fouled and the ball went off you, but the officials still give you the ball instead of calling the foul. That's just one example. There's many more. Makeup calls used to happen all the time. Now with officiating and instant replay, you can't do it. The NBA had to change the rule specifically for out of bounds plays in the approximate foul rule, where they can go back and say, yes, that was a foul. So now the refs can't do that. And you have two different schools coming up now. You have the old school referees, your most tenured ones, the ones that all of you recognize when the Kings play. And then you've got the new ones. And they've been taught two completely different ways. So that's a massive problem as well. Dennis, man, I could do another hour on referees and officials. I don't think anybody wants that, but it's that big of an issue. And it's that complicated of an issue. It's literally that complicated. It's more complicated than what I just laid out in those few minutes. So anyways, let's get your guys' comments, because I know last night was definitely definitely drew a lot of attention with the way it ended 90-89 when the foul happened. There was 3.5 seconds left. 90-89. Steve Kerr lost his damn mind. But nonetheless, the Rockets, their defense, legit. Their defense is definitely legit. What's up, Alberto? How you
Acknowledge
doing?
me.
BJ, got
Acknowledge me.
Throw Adam Silver back into the swamp. You think he came from a swamp? I don't know. I like the let them play. Yeah, I hear you. BJ, being the aggressor and taking it to the opposition is key. Yes and no. I mean, we saw it with Wemby, right? And I tried to make this point after the Kings played the Spurs for the second time that Wemby is so young to where he is still not grown into his body, or I don't think he's had enough time in his body as it is right now with how long he is, that he kind of flops around and he flings around, and it's nothing that I think is malicious. But if you look at the letter of the law in the NBA, that could be a flagrant one. That could be a flagrant two, depending on the situation. And so when it comes to being the aggressor, you just don't know. I guess Dennis makes a very good point. It's a coin flip. You don't know what to expect if you're the aggressor. I have seen so many different basketball plays that are legit basketball plays that have been called flagrant ones and flagrant twos, where they say they're going for the head, or there was excessive force. It's like, dude, they were playing the ball. Now, if you undercut, the worst thing you could do in hoops is undercutting somebody in the air. That's like a big no-no. That is the top of the list to me. That's like the chop block in football where you stand up and you're blocking somebody and your teammate comes in and takes their knees out. Yeah, that is like the biggest no-no and probably the most dangerous play. We'll keep talking about this. Let's continue to get some audio from Malik, Coach Brown, on tonight and what the past 3 days have been like.
Person they got to pay attention to. They can't just lock in on DeMar. Can't just lock in on Fox. Can't just lock in on Domas. So yeah, it's another playmaker out there with that can set up those guys up to get open shots and just get them going even more. So yes, it's kind of hard to guard.
Yeah, how much are you?
Of course you would, Dennis. Dennis, you would be the best at everything. And I'm not even mad at Dennis. I like his little bit of arrogance. Dennis has some arrogance to him. It's okay. There is a place for that. It's all good. He's been right before. So maybe you would be the best with the whistle. That goes back to what I was talking about, Malik Monk saying how teams have to play them a little bit different. Malik Monk, 16th in the NBA, if you're just joining us, in assist turnover ratio. And really what the Kings have done is taken the balls out of Malik Monk, or out of Domantas Sabonis's hand, and put it into Malik's with the playmaking with that first unit, and even down the stretch too. In fact, when you look at the Kings numbers when it comes to assists to turnovers, I have them right here. When it comes to the starters, I look at Domas. I said it earlier. Domas is a 1.87. You know who's second best on the Kings to Malik? It's actually DeMar DeRozan. He's a 2.41. So 2.41 assists to every one turnover. And I think the Domas thing, and it goes back to the Keegan Murray thing, it goes back to the Kevin Huerter thing. Kevin and Keegan were getting so many shots off the DHO, and I have talked until I am blue in the face about how teams have figured out the DHO, and the Kings have not adjusted properly, or did not, in my opinion, adjust to teams figuring it out, which is where we would see the stagnant offense. And now with Malik Monk in the starting lineup, I put the numbers out a few days ago, and I did them both, by the way. I did them both with a 4-game sample size, which did not include last game, and a 5-game sample size, which includes all 5 games since Malik started. If you look at, I'll give you the 5-game, and I know it was a massive blowout, but here's the 5-game. Records 3-2. The Kings have 30-plus assists in 4 of the 5 games. Their field goal attempts are up 9, which is huge. Field goal attempts up 9 means you're playing at a higher pace. You look at what the Thunder do. This is such a great graphic. I don't have time to explain it to you right now, but this shows that the Thunder basically take more and make more shots than anybody else in the NBA. And that is part how they're winning game. The other part is there's many games that they have more steals than turnovers. Thunder are a damn good team. They're going to be around. And I'm telling you, Houston, if Houston gets one more piece One more piece. Watch the hell out. You are going to have a 3-headed monster, possibly. Definitely a 2-headed monster between Houston and Oklahoma City. But think about Memphis there, too. Memphis is still getting right. But taking more shots is very, very important to the formula. Remember, Mike Brown, Monty McNair said they want to play at a higher pace this last training camp. The Kings are getting there. They're not quite there yet. Malik Monk said something that was interesting too. He said, as we're making more shots, we're getting to set our defense a little bit more. And there is a lot of truth to that as well. It's the same argument to getting to the free throw line. But back to the last 5 games, field goal attempts, I said 3-point percentage is up 8%. Scoring is up 16 points. Offensive rebounds are up 3. Assists are up 6. And turnovers are down 4. It's a damn good sample size. The Kings run in 5-game sample sizes. That's how Mike Brown evaluates things. He'll talk about that here in a little bit. Here's Malik Monk again, talking yesterday about how important do they track this whole New Orleans thing. Here's what Malik had to say.
I know that was something that was a bugaboo. Is this something like a revenge game tomorrow?
Hell yeah. Every time we play them. Hell yeah. Every time. Every single time.
What was about that team last year that just gave you fits, and how do you feel like you've corrected that this year?
Their defensive schemes feel like we just played into their role, into what we wanted them to, wanted us to do. Take long twos over Valachunas, play one-on-ones instead of kicking the ball like we normally do. So we just fell into their game plan, but it won't happen again.
Steve Kerr said he only saw it in college 30 years ago. Interesting. BJ giving us his experiences as a ref. A lot of refs never played and see the game through a book. Interesting, BJ. Now, BJ said a few posts ago that you did ref, right? You said you wanted to be an NBA ref. Did you? You did high school JV? Okay, or high school and JC? See, most refs that I talk to, BJ, they played the game. They have played the game. But that would not surprise me with the new generation. Does not surprise me whatsoever. Crazy first time in the NBA. He saw, yeah, we got that. Send the refs to HR. Adam. Yes, we know Haunted Horse. We know. Yes, his ears look like radars. We get it. Is he also related to Sam Cassell, Haunted Horse? Any more E.T.? You got some E.T. references?
Please, will you stop?
Come on, Horse. Adam Silver counts his save. Are we going to get on an Adam Silver thread? Really? Are we really going to do this? The NBA needs to make flops. A common foul. I disagree, Mike. Oh, well, okay. I don't disagree. I see what you're saying. They need to be a common foul in addition to the technical foul. I could get on board with that. Dennis, when you leave somebody unchecked Rhino, you give them the God complex. Yeah. I hear you, man. Not here though. We don't have that complex, my man. We're pretty down to earth. Did you say okay? You guys are getting clonish. Jay, the 2-minute report says correct call. Kuminga fouled Jalen Green. He reached over his shoulder. I'm looking at it right now. And that's the exact thing. See, that's where I said, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it isn't. And it makes my argument that makes this referee issue, quote unquote, so difficult. Because I guess here's the answer. It's probably, and it's just, this is the first thought that comes to my head. It's the absolute first thought. I have not given it any in-depth attention. But they are looking at, Jay, the rule of, they're looking at the rule by the book. when they're doing the 2-minute report, right? They're looking at it by the book. I would think with analytics, and I would think with all the player tracking that there is right now, that there would have to be some way that the NBA could track the amount of physicality within a game, whether it be through a set of statistics, a set of readings. What I'm saying is, how do you make a sliding scale that takes into account how the game has been reffed up until that point to really make a judgment on whether or not in that situation it was the right call? Because by the letter of the law, I can see with Kuminga reaching his arm over, because he's going over the shoulder right here while on the ground. But then his hand is directly on the ball. If it's a loose ball, everybody's entitled to go after it. But how could you take that into account? I would be really curious to know if the NBA takes that stuff into account. Haunted Horse, this show needs to be hijacked into a 49ers show. Rams Thursday. We already talked about the Niners, dude. We already talked about the Niners. Horse, you are hijacking my show right now as I'm looking at this right now. Bruce, what's up? We could really use Jonas Valanciunas. He likely won't cost much. I don't know. It's interesting. The Kings seem to be fairly comfortable. How do I put this? I want to put this right. Everybody that I have talked to that is around the building and in the know, the best thing I could say is the level of panic that's going on with the fan base, with the team falling 3-4 games under 500. That same level of panic didn't seem to really be in the building. So take that for what it's worth. And that's why I went back to the analytics and, looking at this team's plus minus, because they're looking at that as well. And I don't think a 25 game sample size is enough to truly work DeMar DeRozan into the fold. And I've got to figure that there's a little bit of that as well. So Valanciunas, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if the trade deadline were tomorrow, how aggressive the Kings would be. I would venture to say that if the trade deadline were tomorrow, based off of who I've talked to and what I've heard, that you would more likely have smaller moves around the peripheral than you would any big moves. And I'm not saying Valanciunas is a massive move, but it was interesting because Coach Brown, to your point, that's the thing. The cost much thing. I feel like the Kings they're not in a position to get a good deal because of the situation that they seem to be from the outside looking in. Now, nobody's in the building. Monty McNair holds everything very close to the vest. But if you're another team in the Western Conference and you're looking at the Kings, you know that you could probably get them to pay a little bit extra to get a piece that might make them better. I think that came into play with Kyle Kuzma. I don't know how much that's come into play with other proposed trades, but yeah, the price, and we don't know really what the price is going to be yet at the trade. Usually there's a deal that sets the market. There has not been that deal in a while. The only market setter that we have learned since the new CBA has gone into effect is this, that if you're trying to offload salary, it's going to cost you at least a second round pick. It's going to at least cost you a second round pick. So the cost for him, I guess the fit, I don't know. But Mike Brown did say before they got on the plane that that center position is going to be by committee right now. In fact, I have the soundbite for you. Let's see if I can find that one for you. But Mike Brown's basically saying he wants to see who's going to step up and take that job. And until that time, it's going to be a little bit of Isaac. It's going to be a little bit of Alex. It's going to be a little bit of Orlando. So here's some of Coach Brown from yesterday's practice.
Encouraging.
You know, starting with me again, I continue to have a comfort level with what I'm going to do rotation-wise, who I'm going to play. I still have some question marks, and maybe I'll have question marks all year. But that and, you know, a pretty good feel of who can do what defensively and a pretty good feel of who can do what offensively. And then I think, you know, for the group, defensively, our three-point defense is something that kind of stands out. And then our continued ability to try to make the game easier for your teammates by touching the paint and spraying it. I don't know what the number is, but I know Jay said we had a season high in sprays this last game, and it's been pretty good throughout this last 4 or 5 game stretch. Even though sometimes we don't make them, but we try to play the right way in terms of getting our teammates good looks.
Well played, Adam. Well played. I was going to get on you at first, but I get it now. Well played. There is no 48-minute report, my friend. You're looking at the Western Conference standings as they sit going into play today. Only a couple of games tonight. One of them, your Kings. Coach Brown again yesterday.
Kind of opens up with the bench.
Yeah, you know, there's a span. You always like to have, you know, 2 guys that can go get it off the dribble on the floor at all time, or 2 guys that have done it, you know, throughout their career. We got a lot of guys that could possibly do it, but the confidence level is not quite there yet with them. Like, I think Colby could do it. Devin may be able to do it. You know, I don't know. But having excuse me, guys, sorry about that, multiple ball handlers on the floor at all the time, they can make the game easier for their teammates. Even if the defense knows what's coming, is what you strive for as a coach. And, you know, starting Malik, like I said, it puts a little bit more pressure on our bench, and it puts a little bit more pressure on us at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, because, you know, that's when Domas, Malik, and DeMar are all off the floor. And so Fox is going to have to be the all-star that he is and make the game easier for his teammates while carrying us, and then we have to defend.
All right, y'all are in fine fashion today. The chat is strong, really strong. By the way, if you want to be like Dennis, you want to call the show as well, you can do that. You can use this link, or you can call using this phone number. You can call 916-822-9485. You can also text that number if you want to get in and get on the show. We'll bring you right up. I think Alberto makes an excellent point. A fabulous point. Not only did Steph Curry change the game, he changed 2 positions. He changed the point guard position, and he changed the center position. Obviously changing one without even playing it. Because every center, almost every center in the NBA that is considered a top center shoots the 3 ball. It's a great point, Alberto. Now, downfall, look, is it downfall or is it we're tired of it? Because it was exciting for a while. This fan base was hyped in 22-23 when the Kings were just that, a 3-point shooting team. Jerry and I were hoping, we thought maybe, just maybe, the game was swinging back a little bit last year, where you saw Dallas go with a couple bigs. You saw Minnesota have 3 bigs, but it appears to kind of be closing there. That gate isn't swinging open. It's closing, and it's still a 3-point shooting team or league. Adam, close to the vest. Ha. Yeah, like I said, y'all are in fine form today. Coach Brown, again, after practice yesterday.
I don't know. It's they're the next guys in front of us, and no matter who's available to play, we need to go play the right way. And at the end of the game, if we can look ourselves in the mirror, whether we win or lose, hopefully we win, but you say we left it out on the floor the right way, then we got to live with the consequences, whatever they may be, and get ready for the next one. So, and then again, I don't know too much about their problems if they're having any, but we just got to lock in on us.
Dude, embrace your voice, my man. Embrace it. Lights, I'm more tired of the refs deciding games. Well, okay. Off the top of your heads, how many games have the refs decided this year that you can clearly think of? Like, oh, that was horrendous. I don't think the Kings have been cost a game by the refs this year. I don't. Off the top of my head. There was some rough quarters, no doubt about that, but I don't think they've been cost the game or a game. You can make the argument, like I said, you can make the argument both ways last night. Consistency is the issue. Everybody seems to agree there that the consistency part is the problem. It's not just an NBA thing. It's when a ref makes a call or they allow teams to play and then things get a little bit out of control and they try to pull it back. Or if you let teams play and then the final 2 minutes come and the whistle changes, that's a problem. The whistle's got to be consistent. The refs have to find a way to never let the game get away from them, right? If you do that, I don't think you have as big of a problem with the officiating, but it's a good conversation. Yeah, Light says last night. Yep, I dislike both teams. Yeah. Look, the 2-minute report, Jay said it, that it was the correct call on Kuminga. So the refs decided 0 games this year. Yeah, yeah, off the top of my head. It's always your team's fault if you lose. Take accountability. Well, yeah, I see. I know where you're going, Jay. There's something you could have done better. I get what you're saying. I saw the trade DeRozan. That's why you got the weird face and the damn from me. I don't think so. Makes no sense. Why would you trade DeMar right now? You've had him for 25 games. And he certainly helped the team more than he's hurt them. He has not been the problem defensively. This team is back to shooting free throws at a rate that is much closer to 22-23 than it was last year. Last year, free throws were down 21+%. Not percentage, attempts. 21+%. They're up 18% this year. Kings perimeter defense is still terrible. Don't agree with you, Ron, excuse me. 100% agree with you, Ron. We'll talk about it in a minute. Coach Brown again yesterday.
We try to break the season down into a 5-game mini series, and you'd like to go at minimum 3-2 or each 5-game series. Hopefully you can go 4-1 or 5-0 every once in a while, but we try to give them 3 things offensively, 3 things defensively of why we kind of finished where we did. with with also having where we are in those same areas on the season. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we do that every 5 games, and it's something that we've done since we've been here.
Peter, I'm with you. There is no excuse to lose this game. Now, there is one number that troubles me a little bit. On 3 days rest, the Kings are shooting 20% from the three-point line. 20%. New Orleans, one of the only things that they do well is defend the mid-range. So what's going to give there for the Kings? I think you have advantage. You have a clear advantage inside. Yves Missy is a lengthy guy. He's a more athletic guy. He's not somebody that you're going to go run the offense through. He's not a guy that you're going to try to feed the ball down to and let him go to work. But he's sneaky. He's a really good he's a quick jumper, so he can rebound the ball offensively. He can tip it in. They certainly can throw the lob to him. Sabonis should have no problem with the pump fakes against Yves. He should be able to get him into foul trouble. Now, as for the 3 ball, they can't fall in love with it, although that is the better route if you look at the stats. The way New Orleans plays, the way they guard that mid-range, it comes down to the pick and roll. It comes down to the looks. Look, the Kings made 72 threes in their last 5-game segment since Malik Monk began starting. 62 of them, 62 were assisted. 62 of the 72 made threes assisted. So it comes down to that pick and roll and that ball movement. You've got to get ball movement. And can you get them into some foul trouble? But that length is what bothers the Kings, and it's still going to be there tonight. And the perimeter defense, we'll talk about in a second. Malik Monk was actually asked something about the perimeter defense and the things that they are not doing well. This will be our last soundbite getting you ready for the Kings and the Pelicans.
Not fouling. Not giving up open threes. Not
So the fouling is an important part, but the perimeter defense is just as important tonight when you're playing against DeJounte Murray and CJ McCollum, because they're both guards. They can break you down a little bit. They're going to be doing some pick and roll. And with pick and roll, it's communication. Now, as for the on-ball defense, perimeter-wise, I want to talk about 2 things. The rotation, and I want to talk about the perimeter defense because they're intertwined. They're not mutually exclusive. The scheme right now that the Kings have been running defensively has been to help the guy that's on the ball defender. So whoever to make up for the Kings deficit at defending the guy with the ball, they're giving additional help from the strong side. Now, the pick and roll defense for the Kings has either been really good or it's been really bad. It's been nothing in between. And a lot of that comes down to communication, and a lot of that comes down to the freedom that is given to the players to call out quote unquote reds, which are switches. We'll continue the conversation here in a second about the switches. Let's go to the phones really quick. I think our guy Al is calling in. Welcome into the Kings Court.
Brian, it's Al.
Hey, what's going on, Al?
Big game tonight, my friend.
Yes, indeed. You going to switch it up, talk some football?
Yeah, I was, if you don't mind,
Of
I know that
course.
talking about, we could talk to New Orleans, you know what I mean? The thing that, with the sweep last year for the Kings, sometimes I just 9 straight times recently, and the Browns finally got a win. So teams like almost in your head. I mean, how do you feel? Or you just want to just get this win because they swept them last year, 0 for 6, and they're there. So I think the Kings can get it. What do you think?
I think they can get it. I mean, it depends who you ask. DeMar DeRozan says it doesn't matter. They're not talking about it. Malik's like, hell yeah, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters to them. It's a mental thing. Just like earlier this year, beating Houston, you got to see that same fire. Remember, Houston beat you 4 times last year as well.
And you know what? That's where it is mental. It's like a team is so in your head. I think it's the point where it doesn't matter who's wearing the uniform. It could be it's the uniform. It's almost like you played college level. I played high school, and they just got to get over that hump. And it would be big though. I mean, get to 500 and then build from there.
Amen. Amen. Indeed. How about your Rams tonight? There's a lot of Niners fans in the chat. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah. Well, I think as far as which team needs it most, the Niners, because they're really, because they're at 6-7, and now we're looking at tiebreakers, at the end of the year, and division record, and the Niners losing 3 games in the division, that could come back to bite them. So I think that the urgency might be more on the Niners side. I mean, the Rams and your Seahawks and my Rams finished the year playing each other.
Right.
And I'm looking at the other thing. The Vikings pretty much have a playoff slot. They're 11. They got 11 wins.
Right.
And the Seahawks could still, and Rams could still get to 11.
It's
the
not
Rams
likely.
are 7, but not likely. You guys got a tough stretch, by the way. You got Green Bay this week, and then Minnesota next the following week. But it's so. With that being said, and then Green Bay's got 9 wins, so more than likely, it's only going to be one team coming out of our division.
It's going to be whoever wins it. Yeah,
whoever wins it. So I think, well, it's going to be kind of cliche, but you can't beat yourself. I think my Rams, they can't have any mistakes, have any turnovers, and if I'm a Rams defensive coordinator, I'm focusing on Kittle, because he's been balling out all year long. And for my Rams, just Puka, they keep beating Puka. The kid's phenomenal. Our defense can definitely be had. Look what Buffalo, McVay, late in the game, Rams up 3, 4th and 5. McVay knows we can't settle for 3. He goes for it and gets it, and then they went in and scored the touchdown. They knew at that point, Ryan.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop them. So I think I hope that the Rams could just play a good, clean game. They're going to have to, and then get after Purdy. And Niners are down to their 4th running back, which is that's a challenge too.
And
so
Garendo, he's injured too. He's playing with a sprained foot.
Right. Is Bosa going to go? I mean, if Bosa's going to play, have you heard anything about that?
I'm not sure. I got to check. They do have, I believe it's DeForest Buckner coming back tonight. Now, whether he's going to get a lot of time, it's going to be the first game that he's going to be active, though, defensively.
Right. It was not Buckner. It's another guy.
Oh, excuse me. Trey, was it Greenlaw?
Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Trey Greenlaw. You know what? But aren't you kind of worried about bringing a guy back on it's going to be a wet, messy, sloppy field? I mean, as far as like re-entering that thing, and like what happened with McCaffrey when he said if they're in a snowstorm, and you think is that kind of a concern as far as maybe, although at this point this is kind of a must-win for the Niners.
They have to win this game. Yeah,
they got to get this one. If they run the table, they ended up 10 wins, and then the Seahawks are probably going to at least have 10 wins. I think you guys easily go 2-2 in the next 4, and then well, not easily, but yeah, I think it's. I hope my Rams can get it, because the Niners, if they get to the dance, they still they're well coached and they got some good talent, but I'm hoping for the dub. But I'll just so the 9-game winning streak, it finally stopped it last year with the backup bowl, nobody playing their starters. And then this year they stole one. I keep hearing that we stole it because of the drop passes and mistakes. And that's probably accurate. But how do you size it up? What's your take on it?
I think it's out these division games, you know how they are. Like the one that's
Yeah.
going to be week 7 or last week, Seattle and your team, the Rams. That is always such a hard game for Seattle. So I think in my heart of hearts, I feel like the Niners are going to come out and this is going to be their swan song. Like this is
Yeah.
it. Like they're going to leave it all out there. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And the Rams, they've won 2 in a row, you know, so I don't know what to expect. And like you said, the track a little bit messy. Mentally, I think that does affect a player coming back. Now, physically, I'm sure that he would not be coming back if they were that worried about it. But I could see it going either way. I really can, because you just don't know what Niners are going to show up. And quite frankly, you don't know who's actually hurt on that team. Think about Fred Warner coming out saying, "Oh, I've been playing with a fractured ankle." You know, so
I know that was very, very. That was an eyebrow raiser myself. I'm thinking, okay, here comes Stefan, you know, because he said he had a broken bone in his ankle for like weeks on end or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had like
And
some type of fracture.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to add a point. You said something in the chat or the show when talking about the officiating and how they just take the brunt of the all the crap and talking about the parents. To me, that just speaks to the lack of respect that players have in this day and age. I'm sure, you know, as far as it goes all the way back to Little League and Pop Warner football and the parents. I mean, you know, you got to set an example. Well, if it's a bad call, you know, I told my kids when they played ball, you know, you don't argue with the referee or the umpire. You just go, you know, accept it, and you know they're human. And I'm with you. I don't think any refs or umpires have cost anybody the game. It seems to me that over the course of a game or a season, the calls are going to even out. You know, it's all going to even out in the long run. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
But you know, I just thought, you know, in the old days in the NBA, you know, player gets the whistle, he raises his arm in the air. You don't see that anymore. All you see is guys, they do a double take. What, me? I barely clubbed them, you know, or something to that effect. But it's just too bad that it's the state of the league. And it's a thankless job in some ways. But, you know, like an umpire, like you pointed out, just be consistent for the refs. Like if you're letting them play, you know, for 3.5 quarters, don't start, you know, going everything in the final, you know, 6 minutes. And that's where there's a viable concern there. But it's like an umpire. You know, hitters got to know who the umpire is, and if their strike zone is tight or it's big, you know, if it's tight, man, you better get that bat off your shoulder. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because you know they're going to be calling it tight, you know, or if it's loose, or if it's a big, like an Eric Gregg type of strike zone. But anyway, that's my take.
Love it.
Thanks for taking the call. I'll call you tomorrow after the game, and we'll see what happens.
Looking forward to it. You're the man.
All right, buddy.
Thanks,
take care.
Al. Good stuff from Al. Look, Al is old school. I don't care what any of you say. I set that lineup for Al. That is the Al hotline. He can't figure out Restream. Good job.
Yeet!
Good job, Al. A lot of stuff there to chew on. You know, talking about the parents these days with officials. Look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I have a brother that's 11 years younger than me. There were times at my brother's games, now not in high school, but like his CYBL games and, you know, the stuff outside of the school district. There were times I was dick to the refs, but I was dick to the refs because it was just bad. It was awful. They were terrible calls. The refs didn't care. That's how it used to be. And I'm not excusing my behavior, but today it's a whole different subset of parents with these games. Because, like Al talking about teaching your kids sportsmanship. Well, kids back then didn't have social media. they didn't have as much access to the athletes as we did growing up. If you wanted to reach out to your favorite athlete, you know what you did? You bought the book at the book fair that had all of their P.O. boxes and mailing addresses, and you mailed them a letter. And maybe, if you were lucky, you got something back, like a signed picture, something along those lines, right? So kids have to negotiate the access, the information, the internet, but the parents, and part of it's the parents and part of it's the system. Everything is so specialized now. You got to focus on one thing. If you want to be a pitcher, that's all you're going to do. From the time that you can pick up a baseball until the time that you have to get a scholarship. Scholarship. Parents are so focused on scholarships these days. So focused that the specialization of youth sports, the sharks out there, some of these AAU coaches that are just looking to fill their roster and make sure that money is there so the team can travel, will say, oh, I can get your kid a scholarship, right? I can get your kid a scholarship. Just put him in my program. Kid never plays. Parents pay $6,000 a year to be on the team and another $6,000 to travel. The pressure these parents are putting on kids, I think, comes off on referees at times and the kids. And maybe the kids come off on the parents. It's much different than the way that I grew up. So yeah, one thing that I can tell you is never different and will never change. That is how great Bennett's West Side Grill is. One of their 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area. The West Side Grill is in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. But if you're not in the mood for the dinner menu, don't worry. Hit up happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday. There's sips and shareable plates. They call them their tastes. Also, 60 different wines by the glass. One of my favorite things to do, weekend brunch. All 3 locations serve weekend brunch, 2 entrees, bottle of champagne, under $50. Freaking awesome. Also, weekend prime rib. They have a ton of different dining specials throughout the week. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can check them all out. You can also look at the menus. You can make reservations. And if you got a holiday party coming up, I know we're getting short on time here. It's the 12th of December. Whoa, it's 12/12. 12/12. Check them out, because if you're doing a get-together, office party, family thing, birthday, whatever, they have some beautiful private dining rooms that they can reserve for you and your group. All the same great food and service, private, intimate setting. What I'm saying is they are the best. And I appreciate each and every one of you that has gone out to support Bennett's, and let us know when you go out, and let them know that you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. That is Bennett'sRestaurants.com, the West Side Grill, located in Rockland in the Blue Oaks Town Center. All right, we have been jumping all over the map today. All over the map. Referees, Kings, football. We're getting it all. I did see a comment that I want to go back to. I really like how Donald put this. Tonight would be more of a devastating loss than a good win. It's a great call. It's a great way to put it, Donald. Well done, my man. Very, very good job by you, Donald. I like that one. Yeet! Again, Kings and the Pelicans, we're going to keep the conversations going. I'm going to go down the chat here in a second, but I do want to finish my thought on the defense from the previous comment about the Kings' perimeter defense being poor. I was talking about the switching, the Reds, That's left up to the players a lot of times. Now, the coaches will say, we don't want you to switch. But as I was saying, the Kings are helping the guy that's defending the ball to make up for their bad perimeter defense. Now, one of the things that has affected them more than anything is they are leaving strong side players, meaning if the ball is on your side of the court and you're not guarding the ball, they are sometimes sending that person to help, which means you are leaving guys most times open in the corners to shoot threes. That's the adjustment that I want to see continued to be worked out. If the Kings can somehow find a way to not even, hell, you want to be 28th in the NBA at opponents' free throw percent or 3-point percentage? You want to be second worst in the NBA at giving up 3-pointers by percentage? Whatever. I can live with that. What I can't live with is being second, third in the NBA at most attempts given up to your opponents. You can't give up as many attempts. So that's what they've got to get worked out. Now, we've only seen 25 games. Look, with Malik Monk in there, it changes things. Does it change it enough? Keon Ellis, there's some different statistics out there saying he is one of the best 3-and-D guards in the league. I would caution all of you to realize that the amount of minutes that Keon has played compared to some of the other players on that list definitely is not the same, but it is a very encouraging stat. Keon is shooting the 3-ball the best out of anybody on this roster. So, all right, let's get back to the chat. We're getting you ready for the Kings and the Pels coming up tonight here in a little bit. 5 o'clock tipping off. Don't forget Jerry Reynolds with us at halftime. Can't wait to talk to him about the first 24 minutes. And damn, I'm hoping it's a good conversation. We're not talking about the negative stuff and a rerun from last season and the Kings' 6 losses to the Pels. But either way, Jerry will be with us. Looking forward to it. Napes will be here as well. And then Grant and I wrap up the night with you. As always, game 26, the post-game show, taking your calls and hopefully lighten the damn beam with all of you tonight. So we've got all that going and much more. Like I said, we've been talking NFL football, been talking refs, been talking Kings, Pels, a little bit of everything, strike zones. Yeah, it is a double action day today. Definitely. Jay says Kings win, 49ers win. Great night from Northern California. Yeah. Look, this is where I'm torn. Jay, I don't disagree with you, dude. But the injuries, that's what's so hard. I don't know that I can go against the trend of what this entire season has been for the 49ers, which has just been a mismanaged, jumbled mess. Just a mess. And it didn't start during the season. It started at the NFL draft. Not because of who they drafted, but the Ayuk stuff. And it's just been a mess since then. So why do I think they're going to turn it around now that McCaffrey, Mason, both on the IR? They might. I just know this, and it goes against being a fan. I just don't see the Seahawks coming out of this division. I hope I'm wrong. I truly hope I'm wrong. I just don't see it. I don't. Let's see if 49ers win today, division is on watch. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Anyways, love all the chats. Keep them coming. Also, you can call via the link that I'm going to put here in the chat. And you can also call traditionally 916-822-9485. 916-822-9485. It is the Owl Hotline. Getting you ready again for tonight, Kings and the Pelicans. So good conversations going on. I'm going to get to all these. Appreciate everybody that's up in here. Got the tablet and the TV going. Yeah, we'll definitely have both going. If you're a Niners fan, there's a lot of good content for you to digest as well. My guy, Damon Bruce, who you may know or listen to, He does a watch party during the games now, so you can always catch up with him. If you're going to be flipping back and forth, make sure you come back here with us, though, on if you don't like that when we're on the air. But Damon does it great over there. Damon, good friend of the channel. He's been on many times. So we'll have him again this season for basketball. Agree, the Kings need over 25 assists a game. No doubt. No doubt. The Kings need, their magic formula is 30 and 10. 30 and 10. You get 30 and 10 and you win the points in the paint, the Kings are going to win most nights. They will win most nights. And you're going to say, well, what about the three ball? When those things happen, usually the threes are falling. Usually. BJ, yes, we absolutely need lots of ball movement to get all those assists. Yeah, look, I have been happy during the 5-game sample size with how coach has managed the rotations with the starters. Now, as for Kevin Huerter, he's kind of the wild card in all this, right? And Kevin talked about really settling into his new role coming off the bench. In fact, it seems that Kevin really likes it. It's something he did in Atlanta. Jerry talked about this yesterday as well. But the fact that he knows exactly when he's going in a game, he knows how many minutes he's going to play, both in the first half and the second half. That and Jerry brought this up to his credit. Kevin knows he's going in to score. That's something he was not going in to do with that first unit. So that's kind of a wild card. But the ball movement and the rotations. Now, a lot of that ball movement has to do with Coach Brown's rotations with the starters, who he sits together and who he keeps on the floor. The most notable and the most important one to me is the rotation where Monk and Sabonis. Notice they will sit together. And I was so happy when I saw that happening because the ball movement really flows through them when that pick and roll game goes. But also at the same time, when they are on the bench with DeMar, De'Aaron's going to be on the floor. Coach Brown confirmed this yesterday. De'Aaron will be on the floor and kind of have free will to go and distribute and have a wide floor to play with. So I like both of those scenarios. And again, the 5-game sample size, I've talked about the stats. They're on my X page. You can go check it out at Ryan_in_Sacktown. I'm not going to go all over them again, but basically the last 5 games, the stats say Malik Monk starting.
Great success.
Monk and Sabonis have something special going on. They have been. They absolutely have been. Just watch the Warriors Rockets. And how was Steve Kerr 6 feet on the court while the ball was in play? It happens more than you think, Rob Bishop. It really does. The cameras just don't catch it. Little brother and their friends walked into Kings practice and asked Chris Webber if he wanted to play one-on-one. Did they really? You know, Webb was just a different dude, depending on when you caught him. Sometimes he was in a good mood and had that Weber smile. Sometimes not so much if he needed to be someplace else. No, it's not that easy anymore, Donald. It's definitely not that easy, dude. They heavily vet who comes into the building now. It's a little bit easier in Natomas because the practice facility was right there in the Arco Arena parking lot. And many times you could get into the parking lot before the parking attendants got there and chill. So, yeah, I could see that happening. I could see it happening for sure. Dude, what's up, buddy? When going to a game can only have one of these hats on: parent, player, coach, or referee. Yeah, you're right. Good job, Ty. That's my buddy from Oshkosh. In fact, Ty was a part of this. You guys remember the Wisco trip, right? The legendary Wisco trip. Ty was there. Got to spend some good time with him. Tyler and some others in our group came up with a pretty cool Christmas card. I was going to show you the video, but the video froze us earlier. Here's the audio.
Check out the Bake on the Lake crew. They made themselves into a tree. How baked would you have to be? Great card. What a bunch of chefs. Bake on, fellas. I love it. Great card. Okay, that's allowable. That much we will allow. You can bake on the lake. You can even self-gloss the bake on the lake crew. I will allow that for the holiday card. What I will not allow for the holiday card.
See, yeah. So I didn't dig into it lights like that. 19 total free throws. They let him play. That was my point. That was my exact point. If you let him play, you can't change the whistle. There's got to be a way. And then you go back to the 2-minute report, and the 2-minute report saying that it's proper call because it's the proper call if you're looking at the letter of the law. But the letter of the law is not being enforced. In fact, Adam Silver has said, let him play a little bit more. So how do you reconcile those two things? Look, I think when you look at other leagues that try new things, it's interesting. Hell, look at the NFL ended up adopting the new kickoff. Didn't that start in the XFL or another league? Somebody help me out in the chat. There's some leagues out there that have basically a super challenge. You get one challenge a game. In addition to whatever your other challenge rules are, you get one super challenge, which means you can challenge anything. And the refs have to take a look at it. I don't think we're at that point. But what are the drawbacks to that? Slowing down the game? Does that change how that call was made last night? Because the refs were making that call in or out of the context of the game? Because the 2-minute report's telling you the refs did the right thing. In fact, just who I wanted to talk to about this. Moss, what's up, man?
Hey, Randall, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, cool. I'm driving in my car today, coming from a work meeting, but I like where you're going with this, man. Love the game last night. Teetering back and forth. We got down by 7, fought back, but wrong is wrong, right is right. I don't like the call. Let these guys play basketball. I'm okay with them calling a timeout and giving it to my Rockets, but in that same scrimmage, I saw them jump
Check
on.
out the bake on the lake.
Oops, sorry.
Oops, it's okay.
Sorry about that, buddy. I don't know why
Yeah,
that started.
Yeah, what I was saying was on that same sequence, we saw Gary Payton Jr. Get jumped on, and they didn't call a foul. And so the consistency hasn't been there all year long. I can point to several games, and I'm a Rockets fan. I mean, to the core, and I can admit that I didn't like that sequence and that call that we got. I'll take the win. It is what it is, but still, you know what I'm saying. The refs need to be held accountable for some of their calls. And I just feel like the angle that the ref had, I mean, I don't think he had the best angle. I mean, were you okay with the call? I mean, when it happened, what's going through your head, Rhino?
To be honest, my gut feeling was in the context of the game, that was a jump ball. You know what I mean, Keith?
Yeah. The exact same thing that I thought, and I thought that Steve Kerr was obviously he'll come out. He's gonna get fined for his comments after the game.
Of course.
I'm okay with that. If you're gonna let these two teams play physical throughout the game, then don't change your stance in the last 25, 30 seconds. I mean, that was a physical game last night, and there were more shoving and pushing around between Draymond and Sagoon and Jabari and Looney, etc. And you mean to tell me that you wait till that moment to make that call? I mean, I think it's flat out pathetic. And again, I'm a Rockets fan saying this. You know what I'm saying? Because I say this because I don't want there to be a game coming down the line in the postseason or what have you, and a call like that goes against my team. And so I'm in. I like consistency with these refs, and I just feel like it just wasn't a good call. But exciting game, and I'll take the win. but Steve Kerr had every right to be upset, and he was upset. He was
Yeah.
very upset, and I'm okay with that. Sometimes you got to take the fine. I mean, normally I don't like coaches going in like that, but a team wants to feel like my coach has my back. And so I don't think Steve Kerr walked away yesterday with his team feeling, the latter. And so they know that he has their back and right place, right time. And the TNT crew talked about it after, the game. It was a horrible call. And these are veteran refs. He's a veteran referee. What are you doing making that call? I mean, come on now. I mean, the fans deserve better, that wasn't about winning or losing last night, and like it or not, the ratings in this league, Rhino, I can only imagine has been, tinkering down because the product on the floor. Listen, they're already shooting too many threes, or it's an easy lane to the basket. There's really no consistent in between game nowadays, except for a few guys, and so the product is already being. I don't want to use the word watered down, but I'm just gonna say, for us real hardcore basketball fans, I'm used to teams playing inside out, not outside in.
Right.
And so I'm already, not as satisfied with the product. Now, I'm an NBA guy. I'll watch it because that's just who I am. But I know a lot of people that I talk to on a daily basis who aren't happy with what they're putting on TV. But so that's all I had regarding last night's game. I kind of came in on your tail end when you were talking about that, and I've heard you mention Adam Silver and things like that, so I didn't catch too much of that, but yeah.
Well, hey, so really quick, so you brought up
Yes, sir.
something that I talked about earlier. You may not have caught it, but it's this conflict that's going on in the league between just what you said. You had a veteran official crew last night, and you have these new referees that are being taught one thing around instant replay. And you have these old referees that have always coached or ref the game the old style where, yeah, that might have been a foul, but it was off you and we gave you the ball back, so we didn't call the foul, right? And now they're trying to adjust to instant replay. And it feels like a massive mixing pot that's just getting ready to explode.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, listen, I mean, when something changes, it's very important that, for an example, the refs, they need to all get in a room, every last one of them, and come up with a consistent game plan on how to ref these games. Old school refs need to change some of their habits. New school refs need to, change some of or not create bad habits per se. And so, some of these refs, I've seen it in person. They're afraid, or maybe they're nervous to call out veteran refs during the game. I've seen a game where a veteran ref made a call, and I'm looking at the other ref who is a newer ref, and he wants to go for it and say, nah, 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 and kind of reverse it, but they don't do it. They don't do it. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of the 2-minute report where things come back and say, you know what? We messed up. That was a foul. Oh, you know what? We should have called that. Well, at what point do we hold these guys accountable? Listen, these NBA players, everybody's not on a max deal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Guys are fighting for their careers, for their family, financial gain, monetary gain. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to be cheesy or too emotional, but some of these players' lives and livelihood depends on these moments. And I've seen calls get in the way of that, and I don't like it. Now they're human, you know what I'm saying? But that's why there's an instant replay. You know what I'm saying? And I know instant replays isn't the total answer, but I've even seen some of those plays get wrong. Rhino, I know I've been venting and ranting. I just had one thing I want to chat about, less than a minute, and then you got it, buddy.
Yeah, hold on. Can I get 30 seconds of your time before that minute?
Sure, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I said the worst thing that a ref can do is, and I respect your opinion. I love talking with you. I said the worst thing a crew can do is ref a game one way, but then they let it get out of control and then they've got to draw it back. And I feel like that's what we're seeing too much of. So at what point, Moss, where you have a game that, and I think it was Lights that put in, there was only 19 total free throws. right? Like,
Yeah.
I know there's the letter of the law in the NBA rule book that they're looking at the home office when they're doing these 2 minutes reports. But how do you adjust the letter to the law within the context in which the game's being refed, right? Because
Yeah.
you're lying to yourself if you're saying that every game isn't being refed with a certain style. The refs do their homework before games. They're looking for certain things with
Right.
certain guys. They have points of emphasis. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you make those two worlds mix? You can't just have a black and white world when a game's being refed in a bunch of different colors.
Man, that's a great question. And to be fair to them, it's tough. Different teams require different refereeing, and it's probably not fair, but it just is what it is. I'm not going to ref a jump shooting team that doesn't play physical get into the basket the same way I'm going to ref the
Right.
Sixers who go through Joel or Joker down low, right? Paint with paint points. I'm not going to ref Draymond Green the same way I'm going to ref Keeper. It's just not going to happen. And so I agree with you. So here's my quick response to that. And I'm not sure even what I'm about to say is right or wrong. It's probably wrong, but there needs to be somewhat of a fill out moment in the beginning of the game that dictate how things are going. And if that's what you decide you're doing, stick with it. Right.
Have to,
If,
right?
if today is, hey, you know what? There's going to be some extra pushing and shoving. There's going to be some some physicality in today's game. You got Gobert, you got Julius Randle, and they're playing. I'll just say they're playing the Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon and Joker. That's going to be somewhat of a physical matchup. Let these guys bump and grind. It's basketball. Don't call every ticky-tack foul, because now you leave room to say, well, why didn't you call that earlier? But then you wait till last minute to call something else. And so, stick with it and stay with it and live with the results. You're not perfect. That's okay. I think our biggest gripe is what we saw last night. All that banging and pushing around within those 4 lines in the paint, and
Right.
you make that call,
Right.
yeah, then that's the problem. But
See,
I'm
yeah,
not sure there's an answer, Rhino, to that question, because that's
Yeah.
a tough question to answer, and I'm not sure there's a right or wrong answer.
I'm hearing you, brother. All right, your turn.
Excuse me. Just real quick. Is it me? But I mean, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, and I was talking to my wife because she's a big Kings fan. I think the next month of the season for the Kings, Rhino, is going to be key. Either they're going to go the right way, or they're just going to be tinkering around, 500, being one of those teams in a playing situation, and puts himself in a position where you lose a game or two and you're out. And so this team needs to figure out which direction they're going to. And I was on a podcast late last night, and this topic came up about teams that are disappointing, and the Sacramento Kings that came up.
Yeah.
And the guy made a lot of great points, and I want to kind of have the Kings back in the conversation.
Yeah.
But everything he was saying was spot on. Here's my last point, and I heard Grant Napier say the same thing I'm about to say. Just because, and this was one of my biggest concerns coming into the season. We know DeMar DeRozan is a great player, or a very good player. We know this. We know he can score 25 points in his sleep. No question, right?
Right.
But can we be honest right now? Is he a good fit? Just because you're a great player or a good player doesn't make you a good fit. And just because he's putting up 25 a game and individually he's having another good season, I gotta be honest, man. I watched some of these games and some games up close, Rhino. There's some guys on this roster right now who has been directly affected by DeMar being here. Now that might come across as being mean or whatever the case may be, but I gotta call a spade a spade. There's certain guys on this roster right now that I feel like their individual games have taken a step back, and not saying it should.
Keegan and Keon, huh?
There you go, man. You did it spot on.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that they should take a step back because he is DeMar DeRozan, but Mike Brown has to figure out how to get the best out of those two guys, even with DeMar being there. And I wasn't so sure DeMar was the best pick for this team. They have no business not being 4 or 5 games or 6 games over 500. They have no business. Even with DeMar missing a few games, you have enough to get it done, Sacramento. And so people are saying, what's going on? Last year, DeMar wasn't here. This year, he's here. Yeah, there's been some injuries, but they're not playing good basketball, right? They've been inconsistent. And so they'll win a couple, lose a couple, win one, lose three. So I think the next month is going to be key. And I'm just curious to see which way they go. But that's all I have, man.
Appreciate it. Good
Thank
stuff.
you, Rhino. Yes,
Love
sir.
talking to you. Be well. And shout out to, is it Isa? Isa's husband's in here. She loves you, hubby. Good job, Isa. Good job by you. Thanks for being here. Welcome in. I'll acknowledge that.
Acknowledge me.
All right, Mr. Moss, I'm not going to disagree with you on your last part, but I'm going to give you 2 counters, okay? I'm going to give you 2 more things to think about. I would be more inclined to set up camp on your side of the field about DeMar DeRozan not being a good fit had Mike Brown not made the change to put Malik Monk in the starting lineup. That's the first thing. So I am not ready to evaluate whether he's a good fit or not until I see more of what we've seen with Malik. And we've seen a 5-game stretch where we've seen the numbers go through the damn roof. Now, the second thing that I would counter to the DeMar DeRozan thing, he's a player. His job is to play. His job is not to draw up plays. His job is not to come up with the schemes. His job is to follow the schemes. So what about Coach Brown? I think Coach Brown's great in a lot of areas. I don't think adjusting is one of them. Definitely a player's coach. Tries to have some bark at times. Monty McNair's left him with a bench that gives him no bite. But how much of that, of DeMar DeRozan possibly not being a good fit? Let's just talk the 20-game sample size with Malik coming off the bench. How much of that is as much about coaching as it is the style of basketball that DeMar DeRozan plays? Now, as for Keegan and Keon, I don't disagree with you, but I don't put that as much on DeMar. I put that on the lack of adjustments. And let's take Keon out of the conversation. Keon's shooting the 3 ball very well right now. Very well. Best 3-point shooter on the team. But Keegan got his shots rookie year 2 ways, off of a DHO or in the corner. That's all he did. He was a spot-up 3-point shooter. Coaches said it. Keegan said it. It's acknowledged. Now, he did it very well. Holds the rookie record for made 3-pointers. But what's happened since that rookie year? It's how the DHO is guarded. The Kings have been smoked out. The league figured it out, and the Kings kept going to it, which meant Keegan's shots were harder when they were running the same plays. And then at times, Keegan was asked to create. And now he's somewhere caught in the middle in between both of those things. Now, you can't lie and take up for the guy when you look at the numbers at how he's missing wide open 3-point shots. He's just missing them. Personally, I think it's as much about up here as it is physical. Because when dude's not thinking and he's putting the ball on the court with the shot clock running down, he's made some of his smoothest and nicest plays of the season. Not just nice plays, plays where the ball barely touches the net. So it's all an interesting conversation. I hear you. And it's really a conversation that's not going to matter if the Kings don't win tonight. Kings got to get this win. And as for this stretch coming up at home, it comes down to 2 games. It is 2 games. It's the back-to-back Lakers games. That is the Kings midterm. If the Kings lose those 2 games, this team will be fluttering around the play-in the rest of the season. If the Kings win those 2 games, I think it sends them off to the races. Now, what makes those 2 games even more important is if you can take care of your schedule leading up to them. New Orleans and Denver. I think a lot of people would take 1-1. If you go 2-0 there, and then you have Indiana, Detroit, and the Lakers again. Indiana and Detroit are at home. The Kings can make up some ground here. So those 2 games to the Lakers, that's it for me. That's going to be my test about what this team's probably going to do the rest of the year. Same way last year when Dallas came into Sacramento towards the end of the season for those 2 games. And they lost them both. That's when we knew, okay, they're going to play in at best. Are they going to miss the playoffs? And they still had a chance to get that 6th seed. They blew 2 games to Phoenix. So really, really good stuff. I agree. Switch up and rotate play calls. Got to. Donald, I think sometimes refs look at situations when they call fouls, like if Sabonis went crashing into 4 defenders, certainly. And that's why one of the points of emphasis that you hear the commentators talking about, especially plays at the rim, is if a guy went up and down. You can't go side to side. You got to go up and down vertical to jump and defend the play. What's been driving me nuts, actually, if I want to get something off my chest, these illegal screen calls. Quite frankly, there's time. The illegal screen has changed in the NBA. It used to be fairly obvious. Now, at times, it is really freaking hard to tell. I'm having a hard time seeing where some of these illegal screens are at. And even when you see the replay, if it gets challenged, it's like, okay, kind of, but you're almost having to force that argument. Like, it's not obvious, like, that's a slam dunk. It's like, oh, well, I guess I see something there, so I better find all this evidence to make a point behind it. No, the illegal screens have been really weird. Aaron Judge, Altuve, we're going to get ready to wrap up a little bit. I want to shout out your wife, Jay. Come on. Adam.
I will never believe you again.
Adam. Done with a 2-minute report. Shout out to him. Who is it? She's not going to say. Don't say. NBA should have a policy for the refs. Keep those calls consistent. They do have policies. You just got to update them. And they are with instant replay. It's the instant replay argument. Look, instant replay is the answer to our problems, but then you don't have a flow to the game. Yeah, indeed. There was a couple I wanted to get here. You guys talking about the chat. Baked at the lake. Okay, so Donald, somehow our Wisco trip that I took with a bunch of my friends, my very close friends, we all listened to Jim Rome in that group, but our friendship isn't based around Jim Rome. It's something we have in common, so it comes up, but we all planned a trip together to Wisco. It was our first annual with this group, and it turned into, it had a life of its own, Donald. It turned into a complete, it took over. I don't want to say took over. It became a lot of the talking points with the clones and even Jim and the show the week that we were in Wisconsin. And to the point where we ended up zooming in live and doing a little thing with Jim from our vacation live on his show. The first ones to actually zoom in and do that with him other than a guest. And the clones The clones, not us, gave it the gloss bake on the lake. So now we just take it. So that's what that was. It was a Christmas card from all of us. Just going to focus. Yeah. All right. We're going to get up and get out of here. We're going to give you a little bit of time off. It's going to be, oh, you know what? How could I not do this? Excuse me. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Where is this at? I've got to find it because I saw it a second ago. And it's not going to surprise any of you. You know each other based on Jim Rome, though. That's true. That's true. We met through Jim Rome. That's true. That's a fair point. Now, what you did here, I'm going to take a little bit of issue with, but I'm going to do it anyways. It doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Haunted Horse, man. By the way, don't forget tomorrow, horsing around with the NFL. We will have Liam's picks. Liam and Horse tied last week. They both went 6-6, I believe. You guys both went 6-6 last week, I want to say. So, oh no, you both went 6-6, I want to say. But yes, if you want to go check out Haunted Horse, this is what I was griping about. If you want to go check out Haunted Horse's show tonight, go to HollywoodRejects.com. He's giving away money. There you go, Haunted Horse. Your shameless plug for your show, the Haunted Horse show. But the only reason you got to plug is because we will not be on the air at the same time. Join us at halftime. Jerry is going to be with us as always. Can't wait to talk to him. First 24 minutes of Kings basketball. We will be here after that to break it down, give you our thoughts on the first half, and give you our predictions for the second half. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you can join us live on X and YouTube. And then the post-game show. The signature, the logo of If You Don't Like That, the mainstay. We're here right after the game. Grant and I taking your phone calls and hopefully, again, talking about the Kings breaking this 6-game losing streak to the Pelicans. Pelicans, by the way, losers of 4 or 5 coming into this one. Their win against Phoenix. 126-124. Now, that was a Phoenix team without Kevin Durant. So you got to take that into account. Look, the keys are pretty simple tonight. You gotta bring the game to New Orleans. Create your own energy. It's a terrible building to play in. You got to play inspired. You've got to share the ball. Assist to turnover have to be 30 and 10 tonight. Ball's got to move. 3-point defense, not as important as the pick and roll defense, because your 3-point defense is going to be dictated by your pick and roll defense tonight against New Orleans. And coach needs to coach a good game, flat out. If the Kings are puttering, if there's a bad run, quick timeout. But also adjust. You got to adjust. Like I said, the Pelicans do not do anything particularly well. They do defend the mid-range pretty well, which is credit to them. Mid-range is an area where the Kings play very well. I think Domas has a distinct advantage offensively against Yves Missi tonight. Can he take advantage of that? But do all the same things you've done the last 5 games, and the Kings should be just fine. That's a 5:00 tip. Only a couple other games going on in the association tonight. Also, Niners and who out? The Rams. Just kidding. So make sure you come back. Would love to. Yeah. Now this is exactly what this turns into. See, yeah, this is what it turns into. I like money. The Haunted Horse, man. Come on. Yeah. Hey, Patrick, here's the thing. I said this stat earlier. The Kings on 3 days rest, they're shooting 20% from beyond the 3-point line. So that's also a key to me too. I'm going to be interested. I can't tell you what the Kings are going to do, but because New Orleans defends the mid-range so well, and because the Kings have not shot the 3 ball well, how is Mike Brown going to find that balance if the mid-range is taken away, but the Kings are getting bad looks from beyond the arc or taking bad shots? That is why Coach Brown makes the big bucks. And, hopefully at the end of tonight, we are talking about a great success. We're talking about a Kings victory and the beam lit. Thanks so much for being here, y'all. Appreciate every single one of you. Somebody first time. Donald, amen, dude. We're going to go out on that. I should just let him do the outro. And look at Isa. She's still here representing for her husband. That is a good wife right there. Good job by you. You got a good one. Whoever you are, you know what I mean, Isa. Hopefully you got a good one. If you don't got a good one, he's got a good one. Let's put it that way. Look at that. Hopping in a chat room to say that she loves you. I love that.
Great success.
Great success. All right, we're out. Don't forget, halftime. Jerry Reynolds right here. About 6:15. Post game. Grant, myself, looking forward to it. I'm going with what Donald said. I love it. Donald is spot on. Act professional and take care of your business. A freaking men, Donald. Amen. I'm leaving that up. Good job by you. All right. Thanks, everybody, for today. Big show coming at you tomorrow. We've got horsing around with the NFL. We have got our WWE segment. We will be recapping the Kings and the Pelicans. Remember, Kings get another break after this one. They don't play again until Monday after tonight's game, and that is a home game. So enjoy tonight's game. If you're a Niners fan, hope it goes your way. If you're a Rams fan, hope it goes your way, Al. I really don't care. Seattle is not playing. I'm locked in on the Kings like Donald. Act professional. Take care of your business. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. We are out. Court is dismissed. See you at halftime.